Hello and welcome back to another video. If you're looking for recommendations on manhwa to read, then here are some that I've read recently that might be of interest. Manhwa titles are timestamped in the video for your convenience. Our first manhwa for today is The Doctor is Out, a romance manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 90 on. Its main character is Rita Estelle, a well-known commoner doctor that doesn't have many prejudices and due to this trait ends up being caught up in the rebellion that was happening in her area. As with all traitors, she was taken care of, but of course, since she's the main character, she ends up waking up back in the past and thus hatches a plan to become the doctor of the Duke who would prove pivotal in preventing this rebellion, and as a child of course no less. What starts as a story of scheming, protecting the Duke's family, and a whole lot of other events that cause her to actually become an important part of the Duke's family. Be prepared for some time skips here and there, but for the most part, it's able to keep things within reason. As a note, without spoiling too much more, I believe that the main story should be wrapping up fairly soon considering what I'm currently seeing in the story. But as for how many chapters it will be by then, I'm not sure. The story is 8 out of 10. Regression of a commoner doctor to then be involved with a powerful ducal family to prevent her own unfortunate death gives an initial motive to start from. Afterwards, it's able to move from this particular story point that focuses a lot more on Rita to instead the ducal family she saved. Things of course in that powerful family end up becoming better and she, almost to a very dense degree, is not able to see the effect of her actions to the Duke, at least for quite a while. The characters are 9 out of 10. As I already noted, Rita is quite the dense individual. You could chalk it up to focus or the fact that it's her second life, but she's quite numb to the obvious feelings that the Duke has towards her. The others are not that much better, but you can't help but feel their genuine thoughts regarding Rita's effect on their lives being so positive. The art is also 9 out of 10. A romance manhwa through and through. You can see the signs of what will happen way in advance, and it very much gives a touching tale of I want to be with the person who saves me type of vibe. A lot of great romantic situations as well. So if you enjoy romantic fantasy manhwas that has a tinge of the medical genre sprinkled in for good measure, similar to the vibe that I Shall Master This Family gives out from my previous videos, then The Doctor is Out would be a definite recommend from me. This next manhwa to take a look at is Ending This Marriage for Your Happiness, a regression manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 54 on. The protagonist of this tale is Charlotte Noha, the notorious villainous daughter of the Noha family, a family built up by all manner of immoral and illegal deeds within the kingdom that they live in. Charlotte was no exception, at least initially. Due to the plots concocted by her father and brother Quincy, she removed all potential marriage prospects of Alfonso Edward, the heir and bachelor of the Edward family, whose reputation was the complete opposite of the Nohas. She then became engaged and proceeded to marry him. As she lived this life of being a spy for the Noha family while being the wife of Alfonso, Charlotte fell in love, but didn't know what to do with herself because of these feelings. So, in an effort to be neutral about things, she divorced him. Ultimately though, Alfonso met his end due to Quincy's schemes. Heartbroken, Charlotte roams the land to try and find a way to bring Alfonso back. Somehow succeeding, she wakes up back in the past and vows to make Alfonso happy, by any means necessary. The story is an 8 out of 10. An intriguing start. Instead of a reincarnated person who became the villainess, we see an actual villainess who lived and actually regrets the things she did in her first life. Albeit it's more limited to Alfonso, but it ends up benefiting others as well over time. The good part about it overall is the actions that come from regret and the situations that come from learning more about each other. The characters are also 8 out of 10. Misunderstandings everywhere. If you get frustrated with how situations could be resolved if people actually talk to each other, this may be something you don't want to start or at least come in with that expectation. It's a lot of self-growth though for Charlotte and even Alfonso in some ways, but in essence, it's still a romance manhwa and a battle between their inner selves, and then the external threats they face. The art wraps up to be 8 out of 10 as well. Part of the romance manhwas that emphasizes the negative and villainous nature of the main character, this one does not shy away from the deeds performed by Charlotte. The fact that she still has some of these parts in her to accomplish her true goal, even if that goal is somewhat endearing, shows that this nature has been ingrained in her since childhood, and it very much shows. So if you're a fan of regression romance manhwas where the main character actually has regrets and feelings for their main lead, ending this marriage for your happiness would be worth considering. A true fans of the genre title if I've seen one. The Joseon prince who went to America and never returned is the name of our next manhwa to take a look at. It's a historical manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 46 on. Park Byung-jun is the name of its main character, or more specifically, it was. As a history nut, he finds himself reincarnating or possessing the body of Lee Kang, a Joseon prince from the 1900s, at least in this universe. And considering where we're going with this, it's more like alternate history, okay? Lee Kang was exiled or a diplomatic hostage in Japan due to declining familial relationships. Now wanting to utilize his knowledge of the 20th century history to benefit not just himself, but also those of Korean descent in other countries. He wants to establish a base that will allow him to achieve whatever it is he wants, which at this point is a little unclear. An interesting story to peg in the books of alternative history. Let's see where it goes. The story is 8 out of 10. Historical manhwas in this particular time period isn't the most common thing I've seen, and this takes that period of history and turns it on its head a bit. Some more famous American family names make their appearance here considering it's only about 100 years ago, give or take, so at least those names are recognizable. The characters are also 8 out of 10. Almost ridiculously patriotic and business-oriented, Lee Kang is now utilizing all of the various events that happened in the 20th century to secure a proper future for himself. Slowly but surely, he's able to build connections that will become the foundation for his eventual goals, which of course are shrouded still in mystery. The art is 7 out of 10. Considering the time period and also the state of world affairs in this timeline, I would say it does an adequate job of showcasing the influential people and events that happen, without spoiling too much more. From both financial and in some cases commercial means, it actually is a good baseline. So if you're a fan of historical manhwas similar to Dr. Kim of London from my previous videos but wanted 20th century America instead of 19th century London, then the Joseon prince who went to America and never returned might be an interesting fans of the genre manhwa to pick up if you're interested. The shorter story I have for you this week is The Return of Namgung's Granddaughter, a more manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 21 on. The focus of this plot is on Ilhwa. Initially an orphan who had no recollection of her family whatsoever, she was eventually picked up and brought into the evil blood sect, and even became the disciple of the head, the blood demon. To her eventual dismay though, she is discarded as a pawn by said blood demon after she exterminated a certain famous Murim family, the Namgung one, which of course was then revealed to be her own. Completely disheartened, there is no resistance as she ends up being exterminated herself. Of course, interestingly enough, she wakes up back in the past, although already having been picked up by the blood sect. Now though, she wants to save her original family, but it has to start somewhere, so she just walks up and says she's the missing granddaughter? Huh? The potential is 8 out of 10. Considering the interesting way to approach a second life, it's already going to be an entertaining time if this keeps up. From Ilhwa's straightforwardness to learning the martial arts of the righteous faction within the world of Murim and navigating how it is to be someone from the orthodox side whilst learning all about her family will be quite a ride. The art is 9 out of 10. The bloody introduction, while not uncommon, really stuck out to me for a Namgung Murim manhwa title such as this one. I'm curious to see just what it has in store action-wise. So far though, it's been able to just showcase enough of its potential in terms of art style in the first 21 chapters that I'm willing to give it a 9 at this point. So if you're a fan of Murim action manhwas and enjoy titles focused on the famous Namgung clans like Youngest Son of the Namgung Clan and the Genius Grandson of the Namgung Clan from my previous videos, then fans of the genre would definitely enjoy The Return of Namgung's Granddaughter. Another week, another highlight. For those unaware, this is a section of the video I update impressions for manhwa that I've previously covered. Today's highlight is The Holy Power of Modern Medicine, which I've now read up to chapter 143 on. Info card description will have links to my original opinion. Rei, our ever so self-absorbed protagonist, has had quite the adventure with this reincarnated life of his. A surgeon in his previous life, the direction from medical focus towards a more action-adventure plot completely took over. Ultimately, I think the medical tag is not even worth it to put at this point compared to some of the other manhwas that I've covered since I talked about this particular manhwa. Rei's time, commitment, whatever you want to call it in the Holy Kingdom has been such an overpowered trip, it's honestly insane. There were some more redeeming qualities, but I think it really stretched it out a bit too much to the point that it actually had to reset the whole thing back down. I honestly forgot that this didn't start in the Holy Kingdom because it took so much time to get out of it. Some minimal time skip and character growth later, Rei has to go through quite a bit for a semblance of a plot to come up again. My previous scores for this manhwa were 7 out of 10 for story and characters and 6 out of 10 for art. The story, sadly, goes down to a 5 out of 10, as honestly, the Holy Kingdom arc really made the plot quite dry for the most part. As a usual issue with being ridiculously powerful individual, the enemies have to be just as powerful, which usually results in world-ending powers in my opinion. So the main character, in this case, just wins with no struggle. Understanding this, they made some adjustments on the arc immediately after the Holy Kingdom, but then made other choices that I don't necessarily agree with. The characters go up 1 point to 8 out of 10. Yes, Rei is a giant enigma and for the most part is a selfish person who wants to get medical practices adopted, but also views his own priorities as number one. Nothing against it, but even God can't make him change his mind. The highlights though are those that support the already overpowered Rei that follow their convictions to the end. The art actually goes up quite a bit to 9 out of 10. Once I took my expectation of the medical genre out of my mind and took the manhwa at face value as an action-adventure manhwa, it actually turned my opinion of the art style to more of a direction of acceptance. Objectively, I do enjoy the overpowered scenes and the other combat situations that Rei gets involved in. Now that Rei has to move forward from the Holy Kingdom though, there is more potential here to dive back into other parts of the manhwa that made it interesting in the first place. I doubt any of the medical portions come back in any good strength though. The holy power of modern medicine is more like the wholly overpowered main character from the over 100 chapters I've read now. I would only recommend this manhwa to those that enjoy overpowered action manhwas that don't mind a sometimes quite frustrating main character. Interesting, but would be an apt way to describe this manhwa in a nutshell. Would you agree or would you not? Comment down below your thoughts on the holy power of modern medicine. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Write down in the comment section down below what manhwa you've been reading and I might just take a look. Till next time though, have a good read.